Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome. PTP, people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. I am so excited. Rodney Grimes, Live Talk, VoxWave.com. That's what we're doing, and the co-host, Miss Alice
Yes,
Williams.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here with you again. I came as a guest on last week and happen to be your co-host this week. How about that?
I'm so
Thank you for
honored.
having me. No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
This is a real good opportunity for us to just elevate things and move in a direction where we're really going to be supporting the local community and anybody that needs this information. I said the local community because I am from the DMV as well, Ms. Williams. But as we know that you can see this pretty much all over the world. And that's what's going to be really empowering for many people. I want to stress from the very beginning, because I am a Black American, that many times I will speak about things, and I don't want to sound racial because it's not that. It's just about being people. And of course, coming from me as a Black man and you as a Black woman, we have to say things that's going to benefit us moving forward. So please, I just want to make it very clear that in no way is the VoxWave.com station responsible for anything that I may say out of my mouth.
Or I may say out of my mouth.
But our intentions is to give proper information, live information, real information, and just so that we can empower people. That's what people to people, power to power, positive thinking people is all about, empowering people. I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Star Import. We appreciate them supporting us, located at 4711 Off Place, Camp Springs, Maryland, right off of 7B, right off the highway. I tell you, want to come in and see some of these vehicles that's on this location.
Very nice vehicles, too.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, very sport-like vehicles.
That's what I'm talking about.
Very classy vehicles.
So we just kind of like today, before we really get into some serious conversation, Ms. Williams and I just kind of want you to know our goal is to make sure that the information we give you is about us growing, okay? Yes. And when we was talking about PTP, people to people, is she's a people, I'm a people, you're a people, if you understand what I mean. And it's important that the information that we give is going to be really, really supporting you, that you're going to be able to move forward, get some knowledge on how to better your life. This is not a show that's going to be really focusing on us back here.
Right.
We care about you out there.
Absolutely.
So you'll see when we talk about people to people, power to power, positive thinking people, this is including all of us. The power that you possess when you move forward to better your life, that's important. You got to understand, if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. And as the powers that's out there, look, they got built up from doing things like this, getting out information.
Yes.
And so, and also, and the reason that I was definitely excited about Ms. Williams joining me is because of the positive thinking.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is definitely a very powerful show. I was very proud that Rodney had put this together, Mr. Grimes has put this together, and definitely honored that he allowed me to be the co-host. I think messaging is very important in today's society. We don't speak enough about what has happened and what we need to do to get ahead. And so this show, it gives us an opportunity, and you and the public out there, opportunity to really give us the feedback that we need to know. I can tell you what we say today is very subjective, and so very opinionated. Some is based on experience, life experiences, and then some things is based on research. And we'll let you know when that time come along. If we've researched something, we'll let you know. If it's very subjective, we'll let you know. If it's our history or our experience, we'll let you know as well. But this is definitely a positive situation here. It gives you a voice, it gives us a voice, and we're looking forward to dialoguing with you tonight. I understand we have some very interesting topics. Yes, we do, and that's something that's all of us going to be able to relate to. The topics that we're going to talk about is something that we live every day. We're also going to have it where you'll be able to call in as well. I might want to throw the number out there. Absolutely. 240-719-2560. We'll announce when the lines are open, but we want you to get some feedback from you as out there in the audience for, just to give us your point of view on the things. Yes. Like you say, everything that we talk about is something we all experience. Absolutely. And so, our ultimate goal is to make sure that this program is for all of us. It's other people in that comes in here, and I wanted to do a shout out to them. It's all about
I say it's like a ladder. Anything that you do. So you get the ladder and you set it up. You can't go up the ladder pretty much by yourself. You need somebody down at the bottom to hold it.
That's right, to hold it. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And then once you climb up the ladder, now if we got a line of us in the back, okay, and we know it's a wall that we need to go over, the wall to success, the wall to life, the wall to moving in the direction to making our life a pleasant situation, what you do is you help that person up the ladder. Right. Once they get up and get in, they can see over the wall, and they'll say, oh, man, look, it's green over there.
That's right.
That's when you look back at the person who's holding it, and then that person who's holding it will call the other person and say, yo, come over here and hold it for me, and then they come up the ladder.
That's right.
Isn't that how it works?
That's exactly how it works. You know, you always have to have the opportunity to give back, right?
Right.
And that's a form of giving back. You can't do it out here by yourself, whatever it is, whether you have a vision, a goal, whether you're trying to create something, or whether you're trying to be a millionaire or just wealthy. It doesn't matter what it is. You can't do it alone. There's a lot of resources out here. There's a lot of people just in our community definitely can help you in doing the things that you need to do, or just giving you some tools and some resources, or just information. Sometimes it's just information driven. But we have to be willing, and they have to be willing to accept the advice that we give them to get them the ability to move forward. So you're absolutely right about the climbing of the ladder. I would not climb on top of the roof unless I had somebody down on the bottom holding the ladder.
That's
absolutely.
Right.
So you're absolutely right about that.
And we do know that the person that's holding the ladder, we have to have confidence.
We got to trust them.
That's right. You have to trust them. You have to know that that person that's holding the ladder has your best interest. Because a lot of times you get some of those people that be holding the ladder, be like waiting for you not to look, and then they'll let the ladder slip, and then everything crashes. Right. But you know something? That's when we still get back to PTP, people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. That positive thinking person is not going to let the ladder fall.
No.
What they're going to do is they're going to know that what you're going to do as you move forward,
right,
as a people,
right,
and we're looking out for all the people,
right,
and what's going to happen is then when we get at the top, hey, that power comes with it, and then we be put in a position
right.
where.
So Rodney, explain people to people, power to power, positive thinking people again.
Okay, so people to people is just like the government. We're talking the neighborhoods. We're talking the grocery stores. We're talking to churches. All of these are the people, right? And what happens is then when you look in the mirror, you are part of the people.
Right.
So that means when we network with one another, those are the people to people. So that's our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, our mothers, fathers. They are people too.
Right.
So anything that we do that's in that area, it's people to people, right? And so then next, what happens is, with the power to power, is when you start to get the information. Somebody very dear to me always get on me about reading. He always say, read more. He say, read more, because what reading is going to do is going to put you in a position where you're going to start getting that information. And what is information?
Yes, power.
It's power.
That's right.
That's what it is. So with that, that's where the power to power comes. So with all the information that you get, and when you get to the point where you're getting that information and using it in the right direction, you get power. And what attracts power is power. So when power see power coming, power comes together, and it wants to grow, it wants to build, it wants to get like the atom bomb and some other things that we don't really want to go into that with. But that power, that's when we're talking the power to power. And then the positive thinking people is all of us moving forward as a people. I'm talking everybody, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. God made all of us,
right?
You know, and that's one reason why it's kind of sometimes it's a little hard when me being a black American, when I talk, I can't talk about being a white man because I'm not.
Right.
I can't talk about being Hispanic or Asian. I only can talk about being a black man, but that doesn't mean that I'm in a racial state of mind.
Right.
Because when I go home and I find myself in a black environment, I deal with things like a black man deal with it. You know, and then when I come out, now when that goes back to people too, because when we dealing with people outside of our race.
So you said something very interesting. So you said when you go home, you deal with things in a way that black people deal with, right?
Right.
Can you just expand on that just a little bit more? But what do you mean by that?
Okay. Well, you know what happens is when I go in, I have to remember that that's a struggle for me.
Right.
It's a struggle for me in this country. But I don't really know what I wouldn't say in this world. But black men have had a rough time. And we not all the time can blame other people because, you know, you make your bed, you lay in it. So when I go home as a black man, sometimes I come in with the weight of the world on my back. And it's a little different when I walk into the house and I can't explain why it's like that. So I'll find myself frustrated. I'll find myself in a depressing state of mind where I'm like trying to figure out what did I do wrong. So I'll look at myself and then I'll look at another man who may be my neighbor who may happen to be a white man, and he's laughing and joking with all the drama that's going on, and he say, yo, man, I don't even worry about it. Well, as a black man, I do worry about it because it's just a little more pressure on me. You know, when I come home and my wife sees me in a kind of negative state, and she asks me, what's wrong with you? And I say, you know, it just seemed like everybody, when I got on the elevator, was moving to the side and they was acting funny. And she'll look at me and she'll be like, oh, don't worry about that. You okay? She give me that encouragement, but she'll also, I know that in the back of her mind, she's saying, you know what? That's just you being a black man, you're going to have these problems. So
your comment on with your wife's statement, don't worry about it, right? And so that's, you know, it's very interesting. I like the people-to-people, power-to-power, positive thinking people. By the way, that's a tongue twister. So, it is a tongue twister. You're going to get it, though. You got it. You got it. You got it. So I think you got a great cliche going on right now, PTP. I think it's going to be known all over the world. I'm very pleased to be part of it. But it's that positiveness. So it took your wife to give you that encouragement.
Yes.
Yes. And impart that that positiveness into your spirit.
Yes.
Because you came home very negative, right?
Yes. Well, and that's going to be something that we're going to be getting into. I'm glad you're saying that because that's part of our dialogue as we go further into the show. Okay. Is areas that affect us like that. Right. You know, me being a black man, she being a black woman, how we go about things of that nature. So all of that's important. The one thing that I do know that it's up to me as a black man that I have to stand as a king. I have to stand as a warrior. I can't come in there and be very submissive every time that when my wife see me come in, that she see me come in beat up. I have to be able to stand up and say, yo, it's a rough day, but I handled it. And a lot of times what happened is, as a black man, okay, I have to talk to other people and try to get some different perspectives on things, on how to deal with it. Because not all the time is it going to work out the way that I want it.
Right.
So, I mean, you being a black woman and... you know, how is it with you? Is it a real serious? Do you think it's that much different with you?
Yeah, well, for me, you talked about your wife. So I'm a single woman. So let me give you a single woman's perspective. First of all, it comes from my upbringing. I've been very fortunate. I have two parents that have been married over 56 years. And I can't wait till we really get into the discussion today because, you know, over 56 years, I don't see marriages like that. My dream has always been to one day get married and emulate my parents. That would never happen to me today at age 55. But I still have hope for the rest of my life. But to your point, for me, it's a very spiritual foundation. I know my place as a woman, right? And so I understand submissiveness. And that's my whole desire to be submissive to my husband, if that should happen. So I have a high level of respect for men, period. But I'm in a position of authority a lot, you know, whether I'm working or running my own business. I have to be in a position to be able to talk to men of power or talk to other race of power and be able to be confident in that. And so there's double standards and double roles here. I know, you know, I have to be strong as a African-American female and be able to be very successful in what I do, be able to make decisions in what I do, and stick by it. At the end of the day, though, when I come home and you know it's time for me to be a wife or a soulmate or a significant other to whoever I'm with, I don't want that kind of power. You know, that's not the kind of power I desire to have because I relieve that power. And you said something very important. You said, I'm a king, right? I'm a queen, right? And the king is always ahead of the queen, or the king. The king is always ahead of the queen. And so I respect that, right? And so I don't want any power. I want to be able to be, what do you need? How can I help you? How was your day? I want to be very encouraging and uplifting. And so I think a lot of times as African-American women, we get away from that. And so we don't understand what it takes to have marriages last for 56 years like my parents. 56 years ago, I can remember, my mother had a job, but every day she came home, she made sure we had 3 meals. I can remember my mother ironing sheets. Who irons sheets today? You put them in the dryer, you stick them on the bed. My mother ironed our socks. So she took care of us, and then she made sure my dad was taken care of when he got home, and she had to take care of herself. So I watch it happen every day of my life. That she's being the woman of the house, but being very submissive to her husband.
That I commend many people who don't see it. She's always supporting me right behind the scene. My wife, Zena, one of the things that she told me when we first started out, she said, I want to be your wife. I don't want to be your controlling. And I didn't understand that until later on. She said she wanted to be my supporter. And then I realized that many days when I needed a shoulder to lay my head on, her shoulder was there.
Absolutely.
And she knew her position. And that's one of the things as we go into the next segment of the show, which is going to be some powerful information. We're going to talk about those things because that's what's really, really important for us to understand. We have a serious problem going on with this struggle where we not knowing our place. And many people have gotten confused with exactly where your place is.
I hear so many women say, I don't need no man. Like, where did that come from? What does that mean?
Right.
I pay my own bills. I don't even, like, what planet you on?
I mean, that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful thing that you hear. And now you're also starting to hear a lot of men coming off, man, I don't really need no woman. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Let me tell you what I do know.
The Bible say helpmate.
Hey.
Helpmate.
And also in the Bible say a man who finds a good wife finds a good thing. Is that correct?
Finds a wife finds a good thing. Absolutely.
Hey, so I'm a witness to that. Many people have probably had to go through it several times. Hey, and so be it. But sometimes it takes a little lesson to learn a lesson. And in that process, you'll start to understand who is in charge and who's not. I always told a lot of people, for real, I know I'm the king, but when the queen speak, I listen.
That's right. Because they're different to the head and the neck, right?
Hey, that's right. And when we know that position, that's when everything works. And I'm trying to hold off to going into that next segment, but you know something? I think we might, because we got a lot of conversation that's going to be able to put us in the right direction.
Yes.
So, we wanted to really, really bring some information in based on the relationship, the division between the black woman and the black man. And that's very, very important. So it's not just based on the marriage, but it's based on the work environment.
Yes.
It's based on how we treat each other in the streets, and so forth and so on. And one of the things that I've always told you, I admire you for the way you,
sweet. Thank you so much.
The way you carried yourself coming up. I've always saw you as a lady.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
So when I saw you, I knew this is just something that when we know our place. So when I saw you as a lady, then I knew I had to be a gentleman. Right? So
you've always been a gentleman.
Right.
Thank you.
That's what we have to do as with each other. Every man, when he see a woman, he has to know.
But so I've heard men say she don't deserve to be treated like that. So where does that come from?
Well, that's because he haven't had a good woman in his life. So if you don't know what a good woman is, then you don't think that she deserves it. If you keep going to get knuckleheads, that's what you're going to get, some knucklehead results. Me, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not saying that because I've been married before, I'm not saying that they were knuckleheads. It's just that my head wasn't in the right direction, I think, on many cases. And there's two sides to the story, but I just think that I started to understand my position. I understand my role. I understand the respect that is necessary for us to move forward. And so, again, as I said, it's many people that we grew up in Old Town Alexandria.
Yes.
And so, you know,
Yes.
everybody know everybody.
Everybody know everybody.
And so if you was running the street and doing some crazy things, everybody knew it. And if
Everybody
you was
knew it.
hustling, I mean, when I say hustling, I don't mean in a negative way. If you was getting your grind on, trying to make some money in a positive way, you was getting your education on, hey, people knew that too.
Yes, they did.
So the only thing is that when we get back to it, is recognizing your position. My biggest concern is that today, that a lot of women do say they don't need a man.
Right.
And that's the wrong thing to think, because it takes, when, especially if you got children involved, you know, it takes two. It takes
Yes.
the man and a woman to raise them.
Yes.
Even in the businesses.
Yes.
You know, you go home. I used to think about this. When Obama was president, I used to say, I bet you when he go home and he'd say, you know, they was over in Iran talking all this smack and this and that, and he's sitting there in his living room and he'd look over at Michelle and say, baby, I just think I need to blow him up. Right?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, but what you think Michelle would say?
We're not going to do that, honey.
Right?
That's right.
Okay, so he gave it to her,
Right.
and then what happened? She gave him the feedback,
Right.
and then the next day he'll get back on the podium and say, look, I made a decision. I'm not going to blow them up.
Right, he made the decision.
Right. When really,
That's right.
this is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
knowing your position.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, that's one of the things that's really been, I've really been concerned
I understand
about.
we're going to be taking calls tonight.
Yes, we are. And
Okay.
anybody that want to call in, it's 240-719-2560. We're going to open up the lines if you got any questions to call in and add to the discussion tonight. Hey, I really want to know, what is the problem? Where is it? Is it a communication problem? But I do know this. Let me tell you something. Many black men have failed when it came to taking control of their families. We have let society put so much pressure on us that we've been running away. We're running away from the responsibility as fathers, as husbands, as partners. We got to get back on the grind where we are actually making a difference in our homes. We cannot let that pressure stay on us that it runs us away. We even got to the point that we can't even communicate with one another.
Right.
You know.
So I want to add a disclaimer. So if you're one of those fathers or you're a man out there that's taking care of your family and, you know, you're a very spiritual man and doing what you need to do as a king, we're not talking about you.
How about
that? But we'd like to hear from you. If you want to add to the dialogue this afternoon, please feel free to call in. If you're doing some of the right things and you're taking care of your family and you understand what we're talking about and ensuring that we'll be able to open up communication and work, because it starts with communication, don't you think?
That's right. That's the key.
You know, open up the communication and start to work, whether it's in relationship, whether it's in business, whether it's spiritual. We don't care what it is, but we see that there is a major problem here across the country. And so we want to be able to open up some discussion on what is the problem?
Yeah.
What is the division? Why is there so much division between African American men and women?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I do know is that many times we'll find ourselves that we don't look at it's a kind of system put together to divide us, to keep us from moving forward. Now, I told you many times when I talk about things, it's not going to be racial, but also sometimes it does come into a racial situation because we know in this country, you know, it's a lot of things have been designed to have us go another direction. Now, I don't want to finger point. Most of us have enough common sense to know who it is, right?
Right.
And what it is. So I say that to say that, you know, the pressure that we feel as black men many times, we'll feel the pressure, then we go home and put the pressure on our women and our families.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that's when the problems start.
Right.
And that's when we starting to have the kids seeing the father coming in there, ranting and raving or not handling his business. And then the mother saying, look, I had enough is enough. And then she'd be like, look, I got to get away from it. And that is part of the problem when we talk about some of them say, well, I don't need a man.
Right.
You know, because if you're going to be bringing me drama, I can do that by myself.
Right.
By myself, excuse me. So.
Yeah. So what happened to the days when women do encourage their men when they come home and uplift them? You know, I can remember the times that you know, as watching my parents, and I always have to talk about my parents because they've been an example for me, and they've definitely been an example for most of the community in the DMV, those who know my parents. And, and even today, as I see them grow older in their age, they're still together. They still communicate, they still hold hands. But most importantly, they're getting older, and, they get sickness now. And just to watch them take care of each other, right? If he's sick, she's going to take. If he's sick, she's going to take care of him, and vice versa. And just to watch that, even going to the doctor, making sure each other okay. So what happened to those days? Today that don't happen.
Well,
I see men go to doctors by themselves. I see them come home, and the first thing they go, "What's that, man cave?"
yeah, the man, yeah.
They go to the man cave, right? They go to the man cave, and they're not even communicating with their families, right, or their children.
That's one thing that I can say that my wife does. She makes my doctor's appointments, and she makes sure that I go to the doctor, and she goes with me to get the information. But you said this a little earlier, it's communication.
Right.
So if we're going to move forward and we want to be a better, have a better relationship among the black men and the women, we have to communicate better.
Right.
And we got to get to a point where we don't point the finger anymore.
Right.
I acknowledge the power of the black woman. The black woman been holding it down. I mean, but I said this earlier, and I'm not going to say this, and I hope I don't offend anybody because I'm not using any profanity, but I always tell a woman when you're trying to raise a young boy, you can't teach him how to stand up and pee. Yeah. You can't teach him how to, No,
well, look, I have 2 young men, and I was a single mom, but it was very important as they were growing up. I did a lot for them, but I would never do anything without their fathers around.
Right.
I made sure that they worked because I could teach them a lot of stuff, I taught both of my sons how to play basketball. But when it comes to be a man, I couldn't do that.
Right.
And so I made sure, I was very fortunate I had the fathers there, so I made sure that their fathers was in their lives. Yeah. It had nothing to do with me, it's about the kids.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I do know one of the gentlemen who you was married to.
Yes, a very good husband, and is a very good man today.
Yeah. And he was always adamant that he loved his children. I know that.
Still do.
And that was one of the things, again, that's why also, again, I know I don't want to keep throwing you on this pedestal.
That's okay.
But I'm saying that was one of the things that I admire about you, too, as a black woman. You never beat them down.
No. You can't do that, right? Because, I chose my mate for a reason, whatever it was, what this chemistry, however it happened. And I chose him for a reason, and if I chose him for a good reason, right? Things happen, many things happen, that whether I have control over it or they have control over it, right? And so, a lot of times when things happen, women get so damaged. And so, men have a tendency to say, I got a lot of baggage. You hear men say that. But when women get very, very damaged and they don't know how to handle it going forward, for me, I always made sure that I analyzed what the issue was, and it wasn't an individual that I married, right? It was something else, whether it's some kind of influence, whether it's something else that impacted our relationship. And so we have a tendency not to forgive when things go wrong. And it took me a long time. I was a very unforgiving person, believe it or not. You see this and you give me a lot of compliments. But a lot of times we put up a facade. So when people see us, they think we got it all together. But there were times that I didn't have anybody but God, right? My parents, my family always been there. But I put myself in a position that, I was always going to make it and that I wasn't going to depend on anybody to help me out. So there was times that, if I got in a depressed state of mind or I wanted to have something on my mind to think about, it was just me and God. And so I had to learn how to pray. Right, and so part of that, I had to learn how to forgive people.
Right,
and so even through all the hurt and trials and tribulations that I've gone through over the years, one of the things I was able to do was assess what was the issue, what part did I play, what part did they play, and then ask for forgiveness, whether I had to, be forgiven or I had to forgive them. I had to learn how to ask for forgiveness. One of the things you talk about when you talk about people to people, power to power, and positive thinking people, that's all positiveness, right?
Right.
And so for me, I'm challenged when I have negativity in my space.
Right.
Right. And so I try to keep a very, very small circle because I don't want the negativity in my space.
Right.
And when I see the negativity coming, I try to make sure I turn it into positiveness.
That's right.
What is this negative? Why is this negative energy coming? What is it? What is the goal? What is it they want? And then I try to take that and make it very positive. Always leave in a very positive direction. So this people-to-people, power-to-power, positive thinking people is exactly that. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to empower people, one, and you want to be able to keep positive things around you. When things are positive, people are more apt to be able to help you. Yeah. They give you advice, they give you resources, they give you connections, they partner you up with people, right? Before you know it, you're in a circle for one person, but you know it, you're in a circle with multimillionaires and billionaires,
That's
right?
That's right.
And you look back and say, how did this happen? It's happened because you kept positive things. When you talk positive and do positive things, you're able to work on your goals and your objectives. You're able to develop vision for yourself. And so you got to stay positive. You can't keep that negative energy around you.
That's right. That's right. And, that's one of the things when we come back, we're going to go to a little commercial time, and we'll come back and we'll jump back in. And please, if you have any comments, 240-719-2560 is the number. 240-719-2560.
Please call in. We're definitely looking forward to your questions.
PTP. Welcome back. I just want to make sure that I give our sponsor, Star Imports, a shout out again. We appreciate them, all they do. Remember, you looking to get an opportunity to get a nice luxury car, you want to come in and see them. It's 4711 Off Place, Camp Springs, Maryland. 7B off the highway. I'm trying to tell you.
Right behind Red Lobsters off of Branch Avenue.
That's right.
Yes.
Also, we got Photo Time and Production is another part of sponsorship.
And then we have AMW Acquisition and Consulting Group, LLC, located at National Harbor, Maryland. And so if you're interested in some consulting regarding federal contracts and how to work with through the acquisition procurement system with the federal government, you definitely can reach out to AMW Acquisition and Consulting Group, LLC.
That's right. And so we were just talking, basically the conversation is the division between the black man and the black woman. And we're talking about the problems that have arrived from this bad blood between the two. It doesn't mean it's just in the families. It's also just in the workplace and the positions in which we been standing. And I want to let you know again, we're encouraging people to call in. The number is 240-719-2560. We want you to join in with the conversation. This is a platform to really open up minds and get us where we share this dialogue. Okay, it's important that we find out and come up with some solutions. Ms. Williams was just saying that, so what are some of the things that would make things better? And one of the things we came up with most definitely is respect. Right. The respect.
Yeah. And so, respect plays a very, very important part. Everybody wants to be respected. Male, female, male, doesn't matter. If you don't respect one another, you're not going to treat each other right? It's not going to happen. If I don't respect you, I'm not going to treat you right. And so a lot of times we get into a relationship and we all in 100% in the beginning, and then something happened and then we lose respect. And whether it's, it's dishonesty, it's financial, whatever the case may be. And I want to talk about financial later because that's a very, very important part of this. But, whatever the case may be, if you lose respect for someone, if you lose that respect, it's not likely that you're going to be able to get along. Whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in a relationship, you got to be able to respect. So you got to understand how to maintain respect for one another. And part of that is really understand what some of the problems, what some of the issues are, so you can talk about it. We have a tendency to say, we are brother or sister's keeper, right?
Right.
If I'm my brother or sister's keeper, why can't I go and talk to my brother or sister, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so we use all these cliches and we talk all this street language, but when it really comes down to it, can you really go to someone and talk about what are some of the challenges or issues that they have with you, right?
Yeah. The thing is that we have really struggled with the word respect and knowing what it really means. That means supporting each other. That means helping each other grow. You don't have to like somebody to respect them. You don't have to like them, but you can respect them.
Yes.
And I'm saying, and that's one of the problems that we have as black Americans, the man and the woman, is showing each other the proper respect. We have many of us that walk down the street and won't even speak to one another.
Won't even speak.
I mean, and that's a problem. We've gotten to the point that we forget, if it come down to it, and we're not going to say, just say some aliens. They came down and they said, we're going after all the black people. Believe it or not, we all going to have to come together.
We got to come together as one.
As one.
Right.
And if we want to see this change for the future, we definitely got to get to a point where we make a difference.
Yes.
Many people I've talked to about, they want to know, why did you want to get on and have this platform? This is all about empowerment.
Yes, it is.
To make it so that we start to really, really network with the information and share one another. I believe in this 100%. I know that God has ordained this and it's going to move forward. And I look for the support from other people. But even if not, I'm going to keep moving forward. Right. Because just like I know the things that you've done when your struggle, it was times when you were down.
It was.
And you had to keep pushing forward.
It was.
And you as a black woman, it wasn't that easy.
It was not that easy, and the black man as well, right? And so, no, it's not that easy when you're going down, and people, especially when people look up to you. When people look up to you and you're struggling and you have nobody to turn to talk to, you got to figure it out, right? And so there were times that I had to speak to even strangers, right? And strangers listen to me more than people that claim they love me, right? Because people that love me would judge me. If they said, Alice got a problem, they judge me, right? And that's how gossip start. That's how rumors start. And so that's, again, that level of respect and being able to trust people, right? I can remember now, you talked about the show. You said, you know, God empowered you for this show. I can remember almost 10 years ago, we had this conversation. Yeah. And I prophesied to you about 10 years ago that this show was going to happen. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I remember.
Yeah. So, again, if Rodney didn't have that opportunity, if he didn't trust me, and he didn't talk to me at the time that he was down, he always had his family, including his wife, who is his wife today. But it was just that I'm a man and I need somebody else to talk to, right?
Right.
And if you didn't trust me enough and allow me to minister to you, because that's exactly what happened, but you trust me enough and you respected me enough to be open to what I had to say. And likewise, you was open to hear what I had to say. Right?
And that was, you know what was so powerful, and I'm glad you brought that up, was this. See, in the struggle, black woman, black man, okay? I had my wife, who was my fiancée at the time. She was struggling with me, struggling with myself.
Right.
Okay? Then, here, you as a friend, I remember our conversation, and I'm saying to you, it's because I respect you as a powerful black woman doing what you were doing. Because, like I said, many times, whether you were down or not, you were still in the fight. Right. So you, like many others, I was able to say, hey, yo, I'm struggling. You give me some positive feedback as a black woman, saying, hey, this is, you know, you got to keep the faith, you got to keep moving, and so forth and so on. The one thing that I could say to my wife that was just really, really, it was amazing, because all of the struggle that I had at the time, it was hard for her. Now, we're talking about, now I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. What divides us is when we go and blame the black woman for everything. Yeah. I'm talking black man, right?
Yeah.
Okay? We even blame white men. We blame white America. You know, honestly. We get out and blame everybody else, but do we really look in the mirror and check ourselves out?
You blame yourself. So I'll have a tendency to ask all the time, what part do you play? Or what part did you play, right? So if you're going to blame everybody, especially somebody who blame everybody for the same reason, right? The same story, what part did you play?
Yeah. Right? And when I look at it like this, the part that I did play is not taking in the knowledge and acknowledging my ancestors and the struggles that they had and the things that they were doing that was so important for me as a black man to carry on. That's why I decided to do this. That's why I remember when we had this conversation when I was down and struggling with my depression as I was at the time.
Very important. You brought up another very important fact.
It was a situation that my wife was having a problem dealing with that because it was right there. But when I talked to you, you looked at it from a different perspective. Okay, so we were able to discuss these things. Now, this is what I'm talking about as a black man. I didn't come as, hey, I'm macho Rodney Grimes, you know, and you need to submit to me even though I'm down and struggling right now. You know, what I came to and said, you know, yo, I'm struggling with some situations. You gave me still the same respect as a king.
I did.
You know, and one of the things that many times when we talked about it was like, okay, you know what, yo, things will get better, keep the faith, keep moving forward. As when even
it's kind of funny now today, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good thing,
right?
I mean,
you
like,
can laugh about it today, right?
Yeah. When we look at all of us, and it's definitely something.
Yeah.
The good thing is that I know my position,
right?
And when I go home, I hope I don't get in trouble. So my wife asked me to do something last night, and I didn't do it right away. And she gave me this look, and I laughed. She gave me this look, and after that, I just went and did it because I knew if I didn't, and then she ain't gonna beat me up or nothing, but she sure got the look that make me say, "You better go do what I told you." Right. So you know, but I said that to say again, it's about the relationship.
Yes.
And we got to work. If we're talking about the other things that's going to help us, that's going to help the black man and the black woman communicate and get along better, you got to know something. your position in your workplace and at home. You got to know your position.
Right.
Just
Your
because
role.
a woman is
Yeah.
is the director of a company doesn't mean she's not a woman.
Right. Oh, no, absolutely. I've been a director over the years before I retired in the federal government, and I had a very powerful position. And so even when my first husband, when I was married, and by the way, I've been married twice, and so at the end of the day, when I came home, I was a wife, right? That power was gone. Don't ask no questions about work or anything. Like, you know, we're now talking about children, babies, sports, you know, anything relating to family. But I get up the next day and it starts all over again. I go back to work, and then I'm in the power of authority. When I come back home, I'm in a very submissive role, okay? And so I keep that in mind, whether, you know, I'm in a relationship and or any future husbands that I may have that God bless me with. But, you know, my second husband, I want to talk a little bit something that we have not talked about yet, and that's finances.
Right.
And that is one of the most challenging areas in a relationship. You know, when you start to talk about getting along, especially in a husband and wife relationship, or even in a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, whether it's the female who makes more money and the male who doesn't, or whether it's, you know, a white collar versus blue collar, it doesn't matter, or who controls the money, right? Those are some very important things that we don't get an opportunity to talk about when we develop relationships. We go in because we're in love, we follow our hearts, right? But we don't talk about the real things that matter. We jump in a relationship, and before you know it, you got a financial issue because one maybe make more money, or you're not merging your money together because you haven't had that discussion. And so I want to share, because this is real for me, and a lot of times we don't think about whether, you know, how our childbearing years has made us who we are today in terms of how we think and how we process things. You know, you wonder, like, who is this person and why are they acting like that? And you don't know that their father was messed up, their mother was messed up, their grandmother was messed up, you know, or, you know, say somebody's spending a lot of money, but if you seen them on the street when they were teenagers or growing up, they had Gucci and Prada, and you marry this woman because she's always looking nice, and then you can't afford to buy her Gucci. Well, guess what? You like to, when she was out there buying her Gucci herself, you married a Gucci woman.
Right.
You got to know that going in. But real life situation for me is my second marriage. I raised my kids for a very long time as a single woman. I went into a little bit depression. I went to the doctor one time for an anxiety attack. And unbeknownst to me, I just didn't know. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I can remember driving across Woodrow Wilson Bridge trying to put my foot on the brake, and I couldn't even move my foot. But I thank God he was able to get me and my kids to my parents' house. So I dropped my kids off, and I told my mother I'd be right back. And I jumped in the car and I went to Alexandria Hospital. I drove myself because I wasn't going to tell nobody, right? And I drove to Alexandria Hospital, and when I got there, I was like, you know, I think I'm having this heart attack. I told them what happened. I don't know. Can you check it out? And they did all the, you know, with EKG, or they did whatever they had to do. And the doctor came back and he said, Miss Williams, do you have somebody to talk to? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you had an anxiety attack. I was like, well, what is that? And he just starts playing, you know, you stress, a lot going on. You know, I'm a mother. I'm running around the games. I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm not taking time out for myself to include dating, right? And so he said, you really need to talk to somebody. Well, long story short, you know, I took his advice. He gave me some pills. I said, I'm never going to take them, which I didn't. I didn't believe in taking in pills because I knew it was all mental, right? And so I wind up, I said, you know, I got to find me somebody, or somebody got to find me. What happened? Somebody found me, and I did get married. But one of the challenges, a very, very short marriage, and I'm not ashamed to be able to say that because you just never know. And that's what my conversation was about. You got to know where your stock come from, and you got to understand their history, their generation curses and things like that, because that's what you're going to marry into, and you got to know that. And for me, we're Christians in the church. We're going to church, and his belief was the woman's supposed to come home and you mix your money together in the bank, and you know, you kind of run things. I made more money than he did, and that was okay. I was very comfortable with that. But what I didn't understand, and it took everything in me. I can remember driving to the bank, crying, like I have never had to consolidate my money with anybody. And it was hard for me. Like, I was used to have my own money. And I was crying all the way to the bank, but I did it, and I can remember signing on a dotted line. And then the very next day, I checked my bank account, and a lot of the money was like gone. Like, what happened to our money? And at this time, for some reason, men has this mentality. They have to have money in their pocket.
And that,
right?
Yeah.
Men got to have money in their pocket. So he put $200 in and took out $500, right? It's like, that don't make sense. And you said, well, you're going to want to go eat. You're going to want, and I got to be able to pay for that, right? So it didn't make sense. So, long story short, my point to that is these are things that we don't talk about when we get together. How are we going to manage
the money,
finances?
The finance, because that do play a factor when, you know, if the woman is making more money, the man, you're right. Men, we love, I walk around with $1,000 in my pocket and know that I owe $1,000 worth of bills. And the wife is busy saying, she'll say, okay, Rodney, did you pay the bill yet? But I'll walk around with it in my pocket for a few days because it feels good just so that I know. But the thing is again, that's part of the problems in the relationship that separates us when we have a woman who's making more money, and then the guy don't know how to get in and fit in. And a lot of times he don't feel like I gotta go ask my wife, you know, her money, my money. But the bottom line is that you got to put it where it's a point of respect. Respect is, it always go back to that. It's always going to go back to faith, your faith in God, and it's always going to go back to the position that you stand in when you're at home and how you treat each other. You know.
At the end of the day, I also want to be able to say, I'm not saying that you have to put your money together, right? I'm saying there needs to be a discussion. So whether you have separate bank accounts or whether you have a joint bank account, those are some of the things that you need to discuss, because that's where it gets into that I'm separated. You don't respect me as a man. You know, you don't let me manage the money. You know, you're too controlling.
Let me say something about that. Just because I say that I'm the man and I'm supposed to control the money, really, do I know how to manage the money?
That's right. You got to know who's the better manager.
So again, it goes back to communication. And what we're talking about is this. When we're talking about the relationship between black men and black women in this country, and probably in other countries as well, why is there a division? What causes it? Why are we in this position where we're feeling like we don't need each other to survive? But let me tell you something, another remedy. Go back and check out your ancestors.
Yes.
Check out your ancestors.
You'll learn a lot.
You'll learn a lot. You'll see. If you go back to old school, you'll find out that you'll learn the golden rule that'll keep you focused and moving in the right direction. My grandfather, oh man, my grandfather lived to be 91 years old.
Wow, what a blessing.
And I just noticed when my grandmother was in the kitchen, my grandfather was in the dining room sitting in the chair. When my grandfather said he was hungry, my grandma made sure he ate.
That's right. She got right up and fixed him something to eat.
And my grandfather actually retired 3 times. I noticed that my grandfather was the king of the house.
Yes.
Okay, and my grandmother knew her position, and she respected him as a black man.
That's right.
Because he walked like one, he talked like one. See, you gotta also, if you want that, you gotta also live it. You can't expect nobody to treat you like a king if you're walking like a bum. You know, and you gotta step your game up. And that, when I say that, I'm talking black men. I'm talking mainly black men, but that's any man. But of course, in this country, you know, we got to stand up and we got to do what's right for people to see us in our position.
So, Rodney, I know we've been talking a lot about relationships, and I want to transition a little bit, because you and I had a conversation before we came on the air about men also respecting men, and so you talked a little bit about you know, you see your brethren on the street and you walk up to your brethren and speak to him, but you don't tell your brother to pull up his pants. And so I say that because, you know, it's another form of respect when it comes to also dealing with women, you know, what women are looking for. And society, it is society, has made it so that our culture believes that it's okay to walk around like that. And it's that reputation, and I'm not stereotyping anybody, but I must say, famous rappers who walk around with their pants half down and showing everything. It's just ridiculous to me. But, you know, and so our culture pick up on that, and they think it's okay.
Right. And you're right. As black men, it's our responsibility to teach each other. I remember growing up in Old Town Alexandria, we had a street called Queen Street.
You got that right. We grew up on Queen Street.
And Queen Street was a street that everything was going on.
That's right.
Okay, everything back in the day.
Right.
But one thing I knew for a fact, you showed respect when you went up there.
You sure did.
You know, if we had older guys who were up there, you respected them. You didn't walk up there any kind of way. And half the time back then, you remember when you used to have a bush, everybody combed their hair, and if somebody saw you, they see you walking around with your shirt hanging out. They say, "Boy, put your shirt in your pants." You know, those type things. That's how we responded back in the day, where we was responsible for each other. That's part of the problem what we're having. We got a lot of men that won't speak to each other because, I mean, we gritting on each other because we don't even like ourselves. We got to learn to love ourselves. That's something that's really
so true.
You know?
Yes.
If we get to a point where we start to respect ourselves and know who we are, what we are, and know where we come from. You know, in this country, they don't teach us about our ancestors. I mean, that were really, really vibrant in businesses and in education. And I'm talking doctors and lawyers. We talk about rappers. Okay, everybody want to be a rapper.
Everybody want to be a rapper.
But I'm trying to tell you something. They come a dime a dozen.
Right.
And you know something? They pick and choose which ones they want to make it anyway. But on the real, it's all about, you know, how you present yourself. And how people, if we're going to continue to walk on these separate paths, the woman over here and the man over here, we're going to have a problem.
And I just want to say it's not too late, right?
No, it's not.
You know, I'm a social media person. I'm not on it often, but I'm very inspired by some of the stories that I see on social media. And I was on social media the other day, and I watched this video of a young man who went live talking about his daughter. He had his daughter in the back seat, and he talked about how he went and picked up his daughter today. But most importantly, what he said is he had 2 older sons. And he said he lost his opportunity with them. You know, he said he was in the streets for himself. He did a lot of bad things as a father and not taking care of those 2 boys. He said, but God gave him a 3rd chance with his daughter. And so he said, it's not too late. And that's what just was in my spirit when I saw it. It was very emotional. Actually brought a tear to my eye. But very emotional because he had the camera on his daughter, and he was just and he was crying himself. Very emotional. It's like, I lost my opportunity with my sons, but I got my daughter back here, right? And so, again, it's a form of a growth. And my point in telling that story is that, you know, and what our messaging and what we're trying to bring across in terms of division between African-American men and women is not too late. Right? Everybody has an opportunity to reassess where they are today.
Yeah.
Right?
We have to do that. We have to do that, and it's important that we do that. It's important that we understand the position and encourage each other. Get to a point where, you know, stop looking down on each other. We really got to do this. This is important for our future. We're looking at the children. Everybody talk about it, but what are we actually doing about it?
Right.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that we have this platform. That's one of the reasons why I'm glad to be at voxwave.com. Okay? You know, and I'm going to tell you something. Not everybody going to see this picture. They're not going to see it. But you know something? There's a journey. And this journey includes all of us. And I'm going to tell you something. We better take advantage of it. To many, many black women out there, I say thank you. Thank you for holding it down. But it's my position that you was holding, and I need to get back in position where I'm respected as a powerful black man in this country. I pull my pants up, and I walk with pride, and I respect you as a queen. Now, I say this with many people thinking, you know, when is the change going to come? The change comes right now.
That's right. Rodney, why don't you give them the telephone number again? Again, we're open for questions. We're hoping that you feel a need to call in and ask questions of Rodney and myself, or if you just have any comments. We're not asking that you have to always agree, but maybe you also have some experience that you can share with the community out there. We definitely like to hear from you. So give them the number again, Rodney.
Hey, the number is 240-719-2560.
Hey, if you just want to say hello to Rodney and myself, just give us a shout out. Call us and talk to us
now.
if you like.
Just call now.
That's
call
right.
now.
Call
I mean,
right
the lines are open. I'm hoping everybody is actually getting something out of this dialogue. You know, again, Miss Williams, growing up in Alexandria, she didn't come from a rich family. She came from a family of a mom and dad who had to work every day.
Yep.
But the one thing that I can honestly say is that as a black woman, you've carried it very, very well. But I know your children's fathers.
Yeah.
And I know that he carried it well too. We had bumps in the road, all of us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we have moved forward. I say that to say this. Sometimes you'll look at the other side and we'll say, who she thinks she is.
Right.
Well,
hey,
who she is.
I think we got a call.
You know, okay, let's see who the caller is. Yes, how you doing? Welcome to PTP, People to People, Power to Power, Positive Thinking People. Hello?
Hi, how are you?
All right, how you doing?
I'm good.
May I ask who I'm speaking to?
You're speaking to Magda.
Hey, Magna, how you doing? Welcome.
Hi, Magna.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Magnum, if I may ask you, what you think the situation is between the relationship between black men and black women in this day and time?
One of the things that I do know for a fact, because I went through it before, about the part of the relationship with, as far as money-wise, you know, I was always paying for everything, you know, so I kind of found that kind of funny because I'm a very generous person and I stopped being so generous, you know. That was one of my biggest things, and I found myself in the situation that me being as a single mother, just like the other lady, the lady that's on there, you know, it's hard, you know, but when I did meet somebody, you know, it was like I was always paying for everything, you know, and even when we was living together, I was still paying for everything, and I just kind of like, this is not working out, you know. So how do you just go ahead and, because you want to help somebody, but you know when you feel like you're constantly helping, you know, it just it takes a toll on you.
So, you know, Magna, that's a very, very good question. We want to first thank you for calling. We really appreciate you. As a single woman, I truly understand exactly what you're talking about. I have to be honest, I've been in that same situation. As women, we have a tendency to always want to help, right? We like the nice things. We like to go out. We don't want to sit at home because we don't have money, right? One of the things I was able to do is look at some of the positive things in this individual. And it went down from, you know, what is it that's keeping him from being able to have the money to make sure that we have enough finances to go out, whether it was credit. So, you know, I start to look at what does your credit look like, which we don't have a tendency to do that always. Right. But as women, we have to be able to help pull their credit, show them what the things they need to do to repair their credit, to get credit cards, you know. And I don't like personally to use them myself, but sometimes you have to have it to get ahead. Right. So you don't have to be the one that's always footing the bill. What is his, what type of job does he have? Is he complacent on his job? You know, why is he at the same job doing the same thing? Do he want to get ahead? So, you know, your role as a woman is to be able to uplift him, maybe looking at his resume, maybe doing a mock interview with him because maybe he can't present himself well, maybe he can't read or write very well. Right. And sometimes we have to help in those areas. As women, we have a tendency to know what the weaknesses of our men are. And sometimes we hold back because we don't want to hurt their feelings. But we have to be very transparent when it comes to that, especially if we want to get ahead, you know. And it can't just be just one person getting ahead or paying for the bills. We both have to do it. So sometimes we have to uplift and encourage them in many ways to find out what is the issues or what are the problems. But in your decision, sometimes we have to do exactly what you just did as well. If they're not willing to put effort in it, if they're not willing to help and see what their shortfalls, sometimes we have to make a decision to leave the situation. Well,
and if I can add to this, and again, thank you for your call, I want to tell you that don't be afraid to lay the rules in the relationship.
Yes.
Because you have to lay the rule. If you're a woman who don't mind giving, that's one thing. But you don't have to be a sucker. Excuse me if I didn't use that right term.
That's true. That's true.
You know, so what you have to do sometimes, you have to lay the rule and say, look, okay, I might make more money than you, but you're not spending all the money. Now, if you want to do something to help build the money, let's come together and figure out what we need to do so that if you like going to the car, you going to the car races or whatever, and it requires you to have that money and you don't have it, then you need to figure out what you're going to do to get it. Because you gotta lay that law. So I would say that to anybody who's in that situation, don't be afraid to stand up. It doesn't mean you don't love them or care about them. It means that you respect them what is yours. You know, for real, just because you're in a relationship, they don't own you and you don't own them.
Right.
Hey, thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
and definitely keep tuning in. It's VoxWave.com. We appreciate the support.
I am. I'm just loving it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right.
Hey, remember, everyone, call in. Hey, the phone call is 240-719-2560. That's 240-719-2560. We want the calls. We want your feedback. We want to know that, hey, we got some answers for you, but you have some answers for us as well.
Exactly.
This is all about all of us.
Right.
We're not, you know, as Ms. Williams was saying, you know, she had her struggles and so have I. She was just talking about it. 10 years ago, I tell you, I was in a turmoil situation. It was just amazing where I was. I was so frustrated with the world. I just happened to be blessed that God put a woman in my life that was able to tolerate the situation at the time. And then I had a friend like Ms. Williams that I could call and say, hey, you know what, black man, stand up. And not look at me as I was being weak and giving up. And, you know, and that was also with my mother and my mother-in-law. Let me say this. I had some powerful black women around me that always encouraged me. I have some beautiful sisters that are strong black women. And they've never really disrespected me. They always looked at me like I could take on the world. And that was one of the things that I appreciate. You know, I know I told you thank you before, but thank you again.
You're welcome.
And people don't know this. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to get in trouble for this as well. But thank you, wife. My wife is in the studio. But I want to thank her for believing in me. And when I was really, really down, she was there, and she knew her place, but she put me in my place, and vice versa. And that's one of the things we was talking about was respect. The one thing we talking about, Miss Magna, who just called in, and we thank her for the call. Hey, remember, 240-719-2560 is the number. Please call.
Please call.
Let me tell you something.
From you.
It's everybody. You might think that you're the only one going through something. You're not. Your story might be this big when the next person's story is this big.
Right. You never know when your story going to help somebody else.
That's right. That's right. And we can come up with some solutions to help better ourselves. That's what people to people, power to power, positive thinking people is. People to people. That's what happens in a relationship. It's two people.
Yes.
You got a man and a woman. Two people. And they have to come together. That's that people to people. And that power, when you start messing with the power on the other end and you don't build the power starts to fade out. It's like a battery.
Right.
You start to lose the juice, right? But when you energize it, they got a battery called the Energizer, right?
Energizer bunny.
That's right. Yeah. And the battery keep going and going and going. That's that power.
Right.
And then what happens when you have that communication level, you have it where you have that positive thinking people, that way y'all have to sit down and encourage each other. When we're talking about the division among black women and black men, or let's say any man and woman, okay? But in this country, we know that that's something we look at. A lot of times people don't want to deal with the truth. The truth is that we had a lot of men going to jail. They're going to jail like they think it's college.
Right.
Okay, we walking around here.
Society.
I mean, half of them walking around don't know whether they're coming or going. They're not even thinking about their future. I talk to young guys who don't even think about getting to 50. They don't think about that. We got young fathers out here that's don't know how to be fathers because the fathers before them were struggling on being fathers. But let me tell you, there's an answer to that. Communication.
Right.
You know what I told one of my kids? If you want me to be a perfect father, be a perfect child.
That's
you know?
funny.
Well, how about that, right?
Right.
So if you want me to be a perfect black man, be a perfect black woman.
Right.
But that goes
so
both
let's
ways.
talk about that. So I often hear the term, black women are bitter, right?
Yeah.
And how do we get there? Like, why do men categorize black females as bitter, right? So yeah, she won't let me get my child. She's bitter. She's a bitter black woman, and sometimes I think, I wouldn't use the term bitter, but I would say frustrated, or maybe not knowing how to deal with a specific situation or
Right.
issue. But bitter not, right?
Okay.
Right. So,
we got another caller. Yes.
Yay.
Hello. Welcome to PTP. People to people, power to power, positive thinking people. Who's calling?
This is Rachel Pope. How you doing, King and Queen? How
Hey,
y'all
Rachel.
doing?
How are you?
Rachel, how you doing? Welcome. We appreciate the phone call. And Miss Pope, you've been one of the ladies that been seeing things like this. What's your take on the relationship between the black man and the black woman today?
Oh, I got a doozy for y'all too. Okay, this is what I want to run by y'all, because this is something that has been projected to me as being an empathic listener. This question is pertaining to communication between a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
There's a such thing called emotional cheating, as well as the physical cheating.
Okay.
But when there's emotional cheating, and a man thinks that it won't lead to physical, but it does, because a woman is definitely emotional
Right.
individual, and a lot of men play with women because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That leads to the other. But when they're in a relationship, or marriage, a committed relationship, they take it to a whole nother level when a man can't see where the physical is going to play in until it might be too late, or just about to get there when the person becomes unbearable to be around again. So it could be the best friends back in the day that came back up in the present while you're married.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the person thinks that they can continue to relate that communication again that it used to have back in the past, but it needs to take a different kind of turn.
Right.
The person on the other end needs to respect the relationship in the household. So this, I said, okay, this was also projected on one of the talk shows about this.
Oh, wow.
And I said, let me present this to you guys, and then next time I bring on the other subject.
Right. Hey, I might add something, though, and I'm glad you said that about that emotional cheating.
Yes.
That's very, very important. And this is, me and my wife have what we call this confession. And confession, we say, when we say confession to one another, we can say and talk about anything. So many times I found myself emotionally cheating as well, not understanding what you just said. That leads to other things.
Right.
That's something I had to learn, okay? And I'm glad you brought that up. Women are emotional, men are physical.
That's what I was going to say. You're absolutely right.
Right.
I just wrote that down.
So the problem is that a lot of times men, you got to switch it. You got to get emotional too. You got to get an emotional aspect of it for you to understand exactly where you are and how you are presenting yourself in a relationship, because that is something that plays a big factor with all of us. We may look at you women and think that you handling and going to work and making all that money and coming in, blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you something. I've seen it over and over again when y'all emotionally drained.
Yes.
That is something that is hard for a man to really understand on the position of a woman.
Right.
And that's what happened to many of us when we're out in our relationship where we showing each other respect. Men, they're not physical like we are. They're emotional. And when we start to understand that, we are really, we'll start getting where we can communicate with each other better. Hey, thank you for your call, Miss Rachel. We appreciate it. We want to open up the line.
Question. Thank you so
hey,
much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I love y'all.
Love you
back.
too. Hey, so,
Okay.
hey, everybody know that, it is amazing when we dialogue and we deal with the truth of the matter. It helps us. What they say, the truth will set you free.
Yes, it will.
Hey, call in 240-719-2560. We looking for some more calls to come in. Hey, we appreciate those that did call, and we want you to know that it's people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. This is something that we're looking forward to, just some powerful information we're going to share. And this, when, I'm going to say this over and over again. I mean, when I look at the women today and I see how far y'all come, I'm really, really out putting my work in because I want to catch up. We're talking about education-wise, knowledge. We're talking about holding down the household. Just if you think about it, in the last 20 years, we saw many women out here, nice cars, nice homes, and they was out there having the next door neighbor cut their grass because there wasn't a man in there.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that I was able to do real estate investment very early in my career, and in my career I was able to be mobile, and I traveled around the world, and I happened to actually relocate to another state. And when I returned, my kids were grown. I had a nice house in Fort Washington, a very nice place, condo over at the National Harbor, but I didn't have a man, right? So my home association used to penalize me. My trash can would be in front of my garage, my grass would be too high, and it was like, I've had enough of this. My kids are grown, I'm going to sell this house, I'm going to move into the condo. So that's what I did. So you're absolutely right. I've built shelves on the wall, I repaired a refrigerator, I changed lights, I did it all, and thank God for YouTube, because I was able to go on YouTube to do so. Well, the shame piece of that is I've seen situations where men are actually in the house and women still outside washing cars and cutting grass. Or even pumping gas. Yeah,
that's when you got to evaluate what's going on around you and seeing how they're treating you.
Right.
I mean, I can tell you this, and that's for every man. Hey, stand in your position. A woman shouldn't be out pumping no gas if both of y'all in the car.
Look, I demand a man to open the door for me. I've been on a date and it was standing. It was like, aren't you going to get in the car? Like, not until you open the door.
Right.
But, as a woman, you let me in, and I'm going to let you in.
Right.
They call that the door test. Right?
Yeah. I open the door for my wife. I laughing because many times I tell her, I say, you know what? It's amazing that we still do a lot of the things that we did when we first met each other. And that's another thing that you got to remember in relationships. However you come in a relationship, that's how you got to maintain it. And I don't care if it's a work relationship. When you go on a job, you come in there running. You ready to do what you do.
You're not going to be late.
Right. But after a while, you start to get a little lax on it. Well, if you got a woman boss, hey, you got to know that you respect her in her position, but still know she's a woman.
Well, let's talk about that, too, because I've seen that as well, Rodney. So when there's a woman in authority and they have male employees who are very dominant and think they should be in that position, and so they don't respect them, right?
Right.
And so I've seen her. As a female woman in a very powerful position myself, I have many males that work for me. And most of them, majority of them, did respect me because I mentored them. But there were a few, especially of the other race, that, I'm an African-American female in authority, and she's the boss, but she's a woman. An African-American woman, and I'm not going to do anything that she say do. And it's very challenging, and that's some stress in itself, right? But it hurts more. It stings a little bit more when it's an African-American female and an African-American man, and they don't respect each other. So I have to imagine, if you don't respect me and my authority, if you're in a relationship or at home with your wife, how are you respecting them?
But let me ask you this. So how do you deal with that? So say it's the man, he's coming at you and he's not respecting your position. Do that falls, or say like, now I'm just going to put you in a scenario.
Okay.
So you got a white man that's not respecting your position. Then you got a black man who's kind of not respecting your position. Does that fall over on him?
On the
black man?
Oh, absolutely. So here's the thing, and you mentioned more than I have tonight about this communication thing. I've seen other women just break down. I can't take it. I don't want this job anymore. You was in that job because somebody saw something in you, right? For me, I always knew who I was, and I was very confident in my position. And one of the things I want to do, I want everybody to feel a part. And so I have to understand and analyze what is it about this individual, whether they're white or black or male, that they don't respect me. What is it?
Right.
And so you got to bring them in.
Right.
And you got to talk to them and find out what are some of the issues, that's going on. What is it? What do you need me to do different to make you be successful in this job? Because I'm not going to be here.
Right.
And this could be you. One day I'm going to walk out and guarantee I'm going to be the one to making a recommendation of who's going to take this position.
Right.
If you want that person to be you, I need to understand what it is that you want. So it goes back again to that trust, that faith, and definitely that communication. Right?
That communication is really, really important, and we have to learn how to do that. And if we're going to go away with anything and know this, that the one thing that's going to help us to be better in our relationship is to have the faith and the respect for one another. And when you see a man struggling, hey, don't beat him when he's down.
Right.
Give him something to stand up for. But it's the same thing with the woman. I could just say this, with all the young guys out there, hey, let me tell you something. Jail is not college.
No.
Okay?
They say that. Where you been at?
Man, they don't have
college.
They don't have no problem with it. But women, know this. If you constantly beating them down, they keep running that direction.
They will.
So what we got to do is find a solution. And the solution is this. Get to a point to know where you came from.
Right.
Know where you're going.
Right.
And know this. For real, at the end, we all want to be there together.
Right.
We don't want to be there where, the women is holding it down and they trying to raise all the kids without us.
Right.
Or taking us for child support.
Right.
That speaking about child support, that's another thing that had divided us.
It has. That could be a whole nother subject, because this government definitely has dictated on how we behave, right? And it's very controlling. And it's a shame that they will have young men or any man hostage over a child support check.
Right.
Why are you interfering in that, government?
To me, honestly, I figure like this. I would tell any woman, let me tell you something. If he don't want to take care of the child, don't worry about it, because what goes around come around. Everybody reaps what they sow. That's one thing for sure. And I'm going to tell you. So a lot of times I look at it like this. I mean, I can't say I was the best dad, but I wasn't the baddest one. I mean, I was always close by that they call, I come, and I couldn't give them the Jordans, but I got them something that wasn't nobody going to be teasing them about. But I say all that to say, we got to stand our positions and know, everything is designed. It's designed to keep us separated in different levels.
That's right.
And that's something that we'll talk about. We got some guests coming in the future. I'm going to, we're going to get ready to be coming to a close in a little bit, but I want to make it clear that Photo Time and Production, PTP, People to People, Power to Power, Positive Thinking People. Here, I'm getting tongue tied. It's a tongue twister.
I love it.
It's all about us moving forward. And this is about us really showing each other that there's a platform for us to speak out.
Yes.
And so we're going to be having some very, very positive guests. I wanted my co-host, Ms. Alice, to be here today without a guest, because I wanted you to see how powerful of a black woman she is. She is a very, very good inspiration for many, many women. And she knows a lot of powerful women. And I just thank you for your support and the things that you've done to help me move forward. We have a lot of friends who have seen us grow, and we are continuing to grow. And I can say this too. You know what? If that's all you want is the white picket fence, I ain't mad at you.
That's right.
I want a yacht. I want an airplane. I'm sorry. I want to go to the Bahamas. I'm trying to get a little bit more. Hey, Oprah, hey, Tyler Perry, y'all ain't the only ones that want to be living large like that. And I'm just saying that to say, you know what? Anything that you can conceive in your mind, you can achieve. And they're a prime example. And what we're trying to do is get all of us on that note where we are moving forward.
Right.
So I'm going to just tell you, please tune in. Please help us to move forward. We're going to also look for sponsors. We're looking for sponsors to help us to really elevate this platform. Definitely, you want to definitely be calling in at 240-719. Oh, we got another caller. Okay, thank you.
240-719-2560.
Hello, caller. How you doing? Welcome to PTP, People to People, Power to Power, Positive Thinking People.
How you doing?
All right, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. This is Glenn.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Welcome.
Hi, Glenn. How are you? Thank you for calling.
I'm fine. I want to first say.
Glenn, can we get you to turn your radio down just a little bit, please?
Oh,
Thank
your
you.
computer? We getting the
We're
feedback.
getting a little feedback.
You there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
First of all, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
And by Rodney being my brother, it's exhilarating, man, to see how far you've come and what you're doing and where you're trying to go and how you're trying to get there. But and I'm not going to be long because I can get real long-winded.
Hey, first of all, I wanted you to acknowledge, hey, that's my big brother. That's one of my big mentors in my life. I love you dearly.
That's
I have no
awesome.
problem. A lot of the information I get from my brother, and I'm glad you
Awesome.
called in.
Yeah.
So go ahead, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted everybody to know. I didn't say that. I wanted to see if he was going to say it. He said it. Now I'm going to run with it. That's my big brother. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, well, I just wanted to touch a little bit on what I think the continuing divide is and what's causing it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I have to give props to the sister.
Thank
Because
you.
in a lot of cases, the sisters have a right to be angry. Because they carrying a load, man. They carrying a load. A lot of them are single mothers, head of household, and a lot of times they have a right to be angry because a lot of the brothers are just not stepping up to the plate.
How about that?
And when it comes to looking for somebody or being with somebody, I really think you have to become what you're looking for.
Yes.
You can't ask anybody to be more than what you are. You can't ask anybody to do more than what you're doing.
Right.
And a lot of times you hear people talking about it being 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to be 70-30. It's not going to always be equal all the time. But if you're a team and you got each other's back, then usually that'll get you through the rough times.
How about that?
Yes.
So, like I said in the beginning, congratulations. I'm not going to get long-winded, and I will be watching your show, and I will be calling in.
I
Take
appreciate
care.
it. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Glenn.
you. Thank you. Hey, again, and this is what I want to share with people. Communication is so powerful. I've been blessed to have different people in my life to help me move forward to become a better man. My brother is one of them. And I really, really appreciate him, love him. He's been through a lot as a black man himself. I'm going to have my brother on the show. My brother got a story. Going to blow your mind, man, some of the things. But I don't want to get too involved in that right now because when I do have more, you're going to find out that we've been in a serious struggle. Again, like Ms. Williams here. Ms. Williams ain't always been floating around on that dollar like that. She had to work for it.
I did.
And she did it, and she put the work in. And I really, really respect her for that. And that's one of the reasons why I know that we're going to do well. Because, you know something? When I was down, you was doing okay. You didn't look down on me.
No, I didn't.
And as I would go home after conversations, and many times my wife can tell you that I've talked to her. Hey, we got another call coming in real quick. Let's get this call. It's Rodney Grimes, Live Talk. Welcome, caller. PTP, People to People, Power to Power, Positive Thinking People. Who's calling?
This is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela. You got to turn your radio, your computer down or something. We can get the feedback. Just turn it down a little bit.
Okay, it's Angela.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm good.
And what's your comment? Hey, what you think about this relationship between the black man and the black woman? What you think? What's
Rodney,
Huh?
Is this Rodney?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Rodney.
Hi.
How you doing?
It's Angela Taper.
It's Angela who?
Oh, Angela Taper. Hi, Angela. That would be a relative. That's a cousin.
Okay,
that's
okay.
family.
Oh, that's
yes. So,
welcome.
So, hi, Angie. Do you have a comment?
I don't have a comment. I just called to say hi to you guys.
Well, thank you for calling. We really appreciate you. It's always good to know that families out there listening.
And we appreciate the support. And please, definitely, keep the number. And anytime you have some comments or you just want to say hi, you call in, Angela.
Call the number.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, well, hey, actually, we get ready to come to a close. I just want to tell you again, Ms. Williams, I am looking so forward to where we're going with this. Hey, you know something? You are an amazing co-host.
And you're an amazing host.
And guess what? It's people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. Y'all tune in every Tuesday, 6:30. 6:30 to 8. Call in with your information. You got anything that you want us to talk about, you give us the information. You can contact me at rodneygptp@yahoo.com. I'm not going to give Miss Allison's information out quite yet because as a man and a king, I got to protect her. So you can send your information to me. If you got some questions for her, you can give it to us. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 6:30. That's PTP, people to people, power to power, positive things, people.
Good night.
Good night.